I was in the 8th grade at my school talent show, and I sang a Christian song at my public school. And that was the moment that I looked out in the crowd and I said to myself, you know what, this is an impact that I'm seeing happen right before my eyes. And as long as the Lord allows me, I want to do this for the rest of my life. And that was the heartbeat. That's what really catapulted it from there.
Between the Grooves is hosted by James Curtis, music director and morning man in the Greater Toronto Area on Joy Radio. Hosts James Curtis talk to artists and industry insiders to discover the connection between music and faith. You can connect with the show at faithstrongtoday.com/betweenthegrooves or via Twitter @betweengrooves.
So, how have you been, first of all?
Been good. It's kind of busy right now.
Is it?
I told you a while ago about the renos that I was doing.
Yes.
Yeah, they're still happening.
Okay, we're in July.
I know.
Why do you still have renos taking place at your house? It's July.
I know. It's the same old post-COVID where there's long lead times on product. I saw a post from a friend of mine online. They just had their washroom done, and their comment on it was, here's what it looks like without the shower doors, because they don't have the shower doors yet. For me, I've got the shower doors. I just don't have the faucet to turn the shower on.
My gracious.
And we wanted it in black. Apparently, they had shipped the wrong color. And so the guy that we're using asked for a replacement. And he thinks that either the sales guy's on vacation, or they forgot about it or whatever. So he's just reordered the right stuff for us. I talked to him last week. He thinks it was going to be in last week. So they're hoping to finish everything off this week. So we'll see what happens.
Well, but fingers crossed.
So it's been busy with that. It's also busy with, I'm away for a few days at Kingdom Bound.
Yes, sir.
So there's that. And then I've got some vacation time after that. So, all the work still needs to get done. So I'm just kind of, trying to scramble through all of that. What about you?
Golly, it's summer vacation. Our kids have about 3.5 weeks left before school goes back in.
Right. That's in Florida, because that's not everywhere.
Yes, in Florida. Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Because almost everywhere else goes back normal time after Labor Day.
Exactly. That's like 6 weeks away or something. Yeah, exactly. So they're only halfway through their summer. Your kids are almost done.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a pretty eventful summer for us. Have you ever heard the term Christmas in July?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm seeing a lot of that going on.
Christmas in July, for me, means, in our world of music, that's when a lot of artists are preparing. They're preparing for Christmas.
Sure enough.
They've already announced their fall tours. Some of them have already announced their Christmas tours. I know of several artists that have done that. But this is the time when they're actually recording their new Christmas music. Mm-hmm. And so by end of September, I start receiving Christmas music at the radio station. So
good night.
I'm wrapping up my summer in a sense, right?
I hear you.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you. When is it too early to start playing Christmas music?
To play Christmas music?
Yes.
I think the rule of thumb, or at least the accepted rule of thumb, is anytime after Remembrance Day. November sometime.
November?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's after Halloween.
Got you. Before Thanksgiving?
Well, we have a different Thanksgiving than you.
Okay.
Right? So it's after Thanksgiving.
Educate me. Come on.
So in Canada, Remembrance Day is November 11th. Okay. So after that day, it's usually acceptable to start playing Christmas music. I don't start playing Christmas music on the radio till December 1st, although we sometimes have some sneak peeks and, we'll sneak some songs in here and there. But the official launch for me is December 1st.
December.
And interestingly enough, by the time December 1st hits, if you're sending me music on December 1st, it's too late. Yeah.
Yes.
Like I'm already, as far as scheduling music and getting ahead with all of that, I'm at Christmas already. Like it's Christmas Day for me, right? So usually end of September, most of it comes through October. If you're sending it in November, you're kind of it's a little touchy.
Yeah, you're teetering.
Yeah, you're teetering on the verge of not getting airplay. And then if it's any time after December 1st, unless you're Toby Mac,
right,
you're likely not going to get airplay. The funny thing is the week leading into Christmas. So 2-3 days before Christmas, I'll get emails from people saying, "Hey, got this brand new Christmas track. Love if you could play it." Really?
Wow.
You know, you're just releasing it now? Maybe next year, but it's not going to happen this year.
And Christmas in July next year.
Maybe. So that's what life is like for me in the summertime, kind of wrapping things up and then getting ready for Christmas. Literally, that's it for me. Finish the summertime and get caught up a little bit. And by the end of September, I'm gearing towards Christmas.
And festivals.
Oh, that's what's happening now. And I love that. I wish we had more in Canada, but I love the summer festivals. It's a great opportunity for listeners and fans to see a whole bunch of artists at once.
Yeah, sure.
Right? It's you're getting your money's worth when you go to one of these festivals because you can see 2 or 3 artists in one day, maybe do the meet and greet, hang out with other music lovers. It's great. So,
eat good food.
Yep. Good food. Healthy food, maybe not, but good food, sure.
Right. Festival food.
Have you had a chance to go any festivals with your kids this summer?
Not this summer. I have not.
Okay.
We had family vacation with my side of the family earlier on in the summer, and then our vacation with my husband's side of the family started yesterday.
Okay.
So I'm technically on vacation.
But you came into the office just to get away from the in-laws. I understand.
No, I'll tell you the behind the madness. I need the time in September, so I opted to come in to work.
Okay.
These few days this week.
So it's a working holiday for you.
Remember we were talking? Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah.
Remember we were talking about cruises?
Yeah. So you're doing a cruise in September? You booked it, eh? Awesome. Awesome.
So I need that time. So I'm here for a couple hours this week.
Right. So I'm so close to booking a cruise for next year. I'm close. Well, I can't because it's kind of going to be a cruise followed by a place in a hotel, and those are the details I'm trying to line up right now. So that's why I haven't done it yet. But hopefully in the next few days, we'll see.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool beans.
But speaking of festivals, there's a guy that's been doing a lot of the summer festivals right now. Cade Thompson, our guest this week on Between the Grooves. He pretty much lives and breathes music, has been since he was very young. He's been opening for lots of these festivals. And we're going to find out what it's like prepping for these gigs. And we'll also find out about some exciting tour news as far as he's concerned, and talk a little bit about his music as well. It's episode 233 on Between the Grooves, your weekly look at music, ministry, and everything in between with today's top Christian artists. And this week, we're getting Between the Grooves with Cade Thompson.
Cade Thompson.
It's so good. I thought it was Crowder singing himself.
Yes, and Crowder's just sitting right next to me right now. No, I'm just kidding.
I figured.
Oh, man.
So first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, doing awesome. Thanks for chatting this morning. Looking forward to it.
I've really enjoyed your music. And we're playing your latest song right now on the radio. What is your inspiration for music? Because you've had songs like Every Step of the Way, which is a great, that was a hit. We were playing that for quite some time, and some other songs as well. Like, what gets you going as far as music is concerned?
Yeah, I was raised on Christian music, and so I think that Christian music has always had a very deep impact on my life. And as I walked through life and as I began to get older, I really started to see what people are walking through, that a lot of people in this world walk through a lot of different things, a lot of different struggles. And for me, music is a way that I can step into people's lives and share the truth and the hope of the gospel. And so that's really what inspires me to write the songs that I write. But a lot of my songs start with a story, with somebody's story of how God has impacted them in their lives, or something in my life that God has done, that I want to write a song that can be a testimony of God's goodness in each lyric that I write.
I get the impression that you're more of a worshiper. Am I right?
Yeah, that's how I started, man, and that's my heartbeat, and that's what keeps me going. Without that, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today.
Yeah, I kind of gathered that. So what do you spend more time doing? Are you in church leading worship, or is it the, writing the music and touring, I guess, as far as your CCM pop sound?
Yeah, it's funny. Honestly, I would say definitely more time on the road. But for me, I always try to stay grounded of how I first started, which for me, I started in the church. I started just singing on my guitar. Sometimes nobody was in the room at our church. And those were such formative years for me because I saw what it meant to serve the Lord at a young age. And still to this day, before I go out on a run of shows, I sit in my room and I just worship the Lord. And I think that's what keeps me grounded. I think that's what reminds me of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing today. So
I think what keeps any artist grounded is remembering their roots.
Sure enough.
absolutely.
Like, can you think of the church that I attend right now? I remember the days when you would show up early and set up chairs and set up the sound system because you were just renting a school auditorium or gymnasium or whatever, right? And for an artist, like a lot of people think that, oh, wow, this is Cade Thompson. He's this famous CCM artist. But there's a lot that went into what Cade is today.
Absolutely, man. I think it's very important to look back and remember God's goodness in our lives, you know. And a lot of moments in the past, I didn't really understand or couldn't see maybe God in those moments, but each step was a setup. And honestly, that's why I wrote my song Every Step of the Way, out of that same exact heart posture. You know, I wasn't like I just had a song that took off overnight. It was years of really serving the Lord where I was planted, and I wrote that song Every Step of the Way before I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, before I even had a deal, just saying, look, I'm going to choose to trust you in the middle of the unknown, in the middle of the questions. And a year later, that song was on radio, impacting people all across the world.
It's a catchy song, too.
Yes, it is. I was tapping my feet.
Yeah.
I recently heard it for the first time, and I was like, this is nice.
Yeah.
Come on. I love it. Thank you.
So, Cade, tell us a little bit about your journey. You know, I alluded to the fact that there's a lot of work that goes into where you're at right now. So, how long? For some people, like my daughter, as an example, she's 18 now, and a few years back, her dream was to become and I'll quote, a famous artist. not just an artist. A famous artist.
Famous.
Yes.
That's a big difference right there.
Famous.
Exactly. But it takes a while before you become famous, right? And so what was that like for you? Like, did you see yourself 5 years ago? Did you see yourself where you are now? Or was this never the dream? Was it just like, I'm just going to lead worship in church and see where it goes? Or do you have bigger plans? Or does God have bigger plans for you?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. Because, you know, being raised on Christian music, I looked up to artists like Toby Mac and Matthew West, and I can honestly say I was deeply impacted by the music that they made at a young age. But for me, like I said earlier, it really just started for me learning what it meant to serve the Lord. And as I began to serve the Lord, I saw that there's this crazy thing called songwriting.
That's right.
I found that
kind of behind the scenes thing. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I found that I could write these songs out of scripture, and I'm like, well, this is pretty cool. And then fast forward a few years later, I was in the 8th grade at my school talent show, and I sang a Christian song at my public school. And that was the moment that I looked out in the crowd, and I said to myself, you know what, this is an impact that I'm seeing happen right before my eyes. And as long as the Lord allows me, I want to do this for the rest of my life. And that was the heartbeat. That's what really catapulted it from there. I went to a songwriting camp, which led me to some producers here in Nashville, Tennessee. And by the age of 16, I was making trips down here, writing and recording with producers in town. And it's so cool, man, to just look back and see all that God has done.
You said down here. So where was home for you prior to Nashville?
Yes, so I was from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So that's pretty close to Canada, a lot closer than Tennessee. So
it's freezing cold in South Dakota. Woo!
It is very cold.
Guys,
very cold.
Do not talk about cold in South Dakota when you're comparing it to Canada, okay? That's just not fair.
Oh,
and I could argue that till you're blue in the face. From the cold.
Absolutely.
Man, we got caught in one of your windstorms in South Dakota just last fall. And literally we were coming out from the airport, got off a flight, and I thought I was going to be blown away. Literally, the wind was so strong and it was freezing cold.
Did you have your kids with you?
I did not.
Oh, okay, I was going to say if you had
actually, I had one baby.
Okay, so you had one baby with you, but you were more concerned about you blowing away. Just so we're clear, everybody knows now.
Right.
So, Cade, let's hear about. I'd like to hear a little bit about the songwriting camp, because this is something I've heard other artists do. Is this something that you applied for, or that somebody invited you to? I think that's a unique experience that a lot of people don't realize. Wanting to get into the music business, how that can shape you and help you. Get the talent or pull out things from you that you didn't know you had, I guess?
Absolutely. Yes, I was 14 years old, and I'm a huge fan of Phil Wickham. And I was at one of his concerts, and I found out there was a conference the day before. And this guy at this booth at this conference stopped me and said, "Hey, are you a songwriter? You kind of seem like you might be one." And I looked at my mom and I said, "Well, if what I'm doing in my basement on my guitar is called songwriting, then yes, I guess I am." And I went to this camp down in Texas at the age of 14, and that was kind of the time that things opened up for me. I learned what it meant to write songs, and actually one of my very first co-writes was with Benji Cowart, who is one of the writers on Every Step of the Way, and we wrote that song a few years later. So it's so cool to just see God's hand in every single season of my life. And a lot of times it looked way different than what I thought. But I think it's important for us to remember that God is faithful and that he knows and he marks our steps. And, in Proverbs 16, verse 9, it says, "The heart of a man can plan his ways, but the Lord establishes his steps." Yes. And that is the truth. As humans, we can ultimately try to strive on our own, but God is the one who ordains our steps. And I just pray that that's an encouragement for people today, that they would be able to be reminded of that yes, we can do things in our own humanness, but ultimately God is sovereign and God is in control.
Yes, indeed.
This songwriting camp that you went to, did you say that that's how you, quote unquote, got discovered by producers in Nashville?
Yeah, about a year after that camp, I reached out to one of the writers from that camp and said, "Hey, do you have any producers that I could work with?" And they said, "Well, I got a buddy named Matt Armstrong," and Matt Armstrong was a very well-known producer here in town, and Matt's been the producer that I've been working with together for the past 5+ years, and It's so cool to see God work through that.
Do you still collaborate with songwriting?
Yep, I do a lot of collaborations, a lot of co-writing, so yes.
Nice. Anybody you would dream to work with that you haven't yet?
That's a good question. I'm very fortunate. I've been able to write with some amazing writers.
Cool.
I would love to write a song with Toby Mac someday. I think that would be very, very special.
Have you ever written with Toby Mac, Ayiesha?
Is that a trick question?
No. It's not a trick question. I know you were signed under his label, but did you ever write with him?
I did.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah. Woo! Toby's he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
An incredible talent. So.
What I've always admired about him is it's not about Toby as much as the next artist he's wanting to promote. Not needing to promote, but wanting to promote. And he's definitely a guy that looks out for the up and coming, and
that's right.
will promote them above himself, from what I've seen anyways. And I think a lot of artists have gotten their beginning in the music industry, in the Christian world anyways, because of him and other artists too, but it's very noticeable with him because he does these collaborations and then he sets them free, as it were, right? So
right.
Yeah. So I admire that. The songwriting camp, it's interesting, Cade, you mentioning that. I guess a couple of points. First of all, that's how Lauren Daigle got her career started. She was just— Is
that right?
Yeah, I was chatting with her a few years ago, and she— it was an accident, really. Like, she wasn't scheduled to go to this songwriting camp, but apparently there was some person that canceled, I guess, and then she ended up going just as a fill-in, if you want to call it that, and then that's how things started for her. And the other thing about songwriting camps and what you've specifically described, Cade, it's letting God be in control and letting God direct your paths, but also you taking a step and reaching out, like you reaching out to one of these writers and say, hey, do you know of a producer? Because, you know, you can be this whole, whatever happens. Yeah. Waiting in the wings, right. God, whatever you want to do. But if you don't actually, you know, take a step as well. Like, sure. I think part of it is, and I think there's a fine line, because you can decide, well, I'm taking all the steps and leave God out of it. But there's the other part, the other extreme, where you're not taking any steps and you're just kind of waiting and waiting and waiting, and then wondering 5 years later, why didn't God do anything? Well, maybe you should have done something too.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's why it's called faith, right? Yeah. It's the balance of learning what it means to trust God, but also trust what he's put inside of you. And I think that's a balance that as humans we all have to face every day.
What's going on with you as far as concerts this year? I know you're at a bunch of, I'm assuming you're at some of the summer festivals and part of these other groups and stuff. Can you share a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah, I've been on the road every weekend this summer. It's been incredible. So many summer festivals all across the country. And I have my first tour this fall, my own tour called the Bigger Story Tour happening, which I'm really excited about that. That'll be in September. And
congratulations.
We got some more exciting things. Yes, thank you. We've got a lot of exciting things coming the rest of the fall and Christmas season that I'm going to share about soon, but very excited and very thankful to be out on the road. I mean, you know, 2020 was a very slim year for all of us. So it feels good to be playing these shows and seeing these songs come to life.
The favorite, if you have one, of somebody that you've performed with or shared the stage with, anyone that you know that stands out to you right now?
Yeah, recently I've done a few festivals for King Country, and I just absolutely love those guys.
Who are they? No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Hey, God only knows, you know.
Yeah, they're
those guys.
Those guys are hard workers.
Yes, they
are, man.
You know, you talk about what it takes to be a CCM artist. And a lot of times people, and Ayiesha and I've talked about this before as well, about the fact that, you know, you see the end result a lot of the times. You know, you attend a concert, you see this person on stage and say, wow, you know, they've made it and everything else. But there's a lot of work that it takes to make it, as it were.
For sure.
And it's not just that, it's the ongoing work, right? Whether it's the songwriting, whether it's the rehearsal time, whether it's the behind the scenes stuff, the, you know, bookkeeping stuff, or arranging what's, you know, your schedule in the future, putting on, you know, being a headliner, all this stuff. Like, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't remember or recognize.
Absolutely. I think that's most of it, I would say.
Yeah.
The time on stage is about 10%, maybe, if that. You know, there's a lot of hurrying up and waiting for show days, but really it makes it all worth it when you're able to step out on the stage and know that you're right where you need to be in that moment, and there's people out there that need to hear that message.
Yeah. So you're going to be performing on a stage. You've done your sound check already. What happens between sound check and when you actually hit the stage?
You know, every show or festival is a little bit different. A lot of times we're setting up merch, getting the merch ready to go. But a lot of times too, I'm just trying to get in the right headspace and just seeing what message I need to share with those specific people that night. And I always want every single night to feel fresh and to feel unique, because I believe that, you know, every single time God wants to do something in a unique way for those people. And that's the way that I get in the right headspace. Setting
up merch. I mean, don't you have people for that?
I do, but I like to make sure it looks good, you know.
But it's funny because a lot of people think that you've got this huge team around you, and a lot of times that's just not the fact, right?
No.
Sometimes you need to be there making sure it gets set up properly. A lot of times you're dealing with volunteers that have never done it before, and so you're kind of giving them a heads up on, you know, a mini training session on here's what you do when this happens, and here's how much this goes for, and everything else, right?
Yeah, it's a whole process. I'm thankful for the team that I have.
What kind of team do you have right now? Like, what do they consist of?
So I have a road manager, and so my drummer is my road manager. My guitar player is merch manager, and then I've got the label, booking agent. I've got a business manager and publicist, all that fun stuff. So there's a lot of different people.
Moving parts, yeah.
And when you're on the road, it's basically the drummer and the guitarist?
Yep.
That's it, right?
That's it, yeah.
And do you drive or fly?
A lot of times we fly. There's some shows, if it's fairly close, we'll drive ourselves. So, yeah.
Any issues when you have flown with instruments and stuff? You've heard the headaches of, damages or missing luggage and stuff, especially now post-COVID.
Right.
Oof, I don't want to jinx it. Thankfully not. Thankfully not yet. So fingers crossed.
Do you have any backup plans? I heard of, where did I hear this from recently, where it was an artist, like I saw their Instagram feed or something like that, and they're talking about the fact that they can only travel with one guitar when they're going to gigs. Like they can only check in one guitar, but as part of their rider, wherever they're going to, they have to have a guitar on hand for them just in case. And it just so happened to be when he showed up at this place, the guitar was nicer than the one he brought along with him, so he ended up playing this other guitar. But do you have any situations like that where you have a backup plan in place?
I have no backup plans in place, and I just pray to the good Lord nothing breaks.
But now.
You've really inspired me this morning.
There you go. Speaking of riders, do you have anything special on your rider?
Man, I'm pretty simple. I'm pretty straightforward. Fun fact about me, though, that not a lot of people know. I'm actually allergic to peanuts, so you can feed me anything, but there will be no Chick-fil-A in my green room. I can tell you that much. So.
Right. And what's
you probably don't even know what Chick-fil-A is up there.
Oh yeah, no, we got it. We've got it here, and I've been I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a fan. I mean, there's other places I'd rather go to, but I shouldn't be saying that because there's nothing wrong with them.
That's the Lord's chicken. Come on now.
I know. What food do you get tired of? Like I know some people on their riders say no pizza because they always get pizza. Or lasagna or some kind of food that's kind of the thing they always serve because you don't have time to go out to eat all the time. And so that's a lot of times what's on a rider is you have to provide a meal for you. What meal is the one that drives you nuts?
I don't really drives me nuts. I see what you did there. I don't really have anything that I don't care for, but I could say I could probably have tacos for every single meal and be okay. So.
That's funny.
Yeah. I would have.
It was a day.
Yeah. Or a burrito or something like that, eh? Like something Mexican. Yeah. I could go for that. I've had not that I'm performing or anything like that, but sometimes there is stuff that's repetitive. Pulled pork was an interesting one that I saw one band have. It's like, wow, that
really?
Because I had to go backstage for whatever reason, and I smelled it. I think, man, that smells amazing. Those guys are doing really good on this gig. I didn't get any, unfortunately.
Oh no,
that's funny.
But you always hear stories. You always hear about weird little things that people put in their riders just to make sure people are actually reading it.
Right. Yeah, I've seen
like
some
M&Ms.
pretty far out ones. Exactly.
Yeah. What about you, Ayiesha? Did you have anything?
Yeah, but
nothing to trick them or anything?
I'm easy. No.
No, okay.
Not at all. I'm easy.
See, that would be the fun thing.
I've seen some outrageous.
But that would be the fun part of it.
Requests.
Wouldn't that be fun? Like I'm going to put this on my rider just for the fun of it, just to see if they're looking at it, You don't really need it or anything, Like, why not? Why not? Keep people on their toes because
that's right.
You've got the technical rider. That's the most important thing. And then you've got the other, extra stuff, the accommodations or hospitality or whatever else you want to call it. And so you fool around or joke around with the hospitality side of things.
Yeah.
Just so they're going to read the technical stuff because that's the stuff that really matters to you, right?
The tech rider needs to be confirmed far ahead of time.
Yeah.
Just make sure that everything tech is squared away because we don't need any surprises.
Right. Especially if you're flying in and leaving right away.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
That's an artist's worst nightmare.
Cade, any horror stories at this point in your career as far as technical writer or things just not being the way they were supposed to be, or just technical problems beyond your control or their control?
That's a great question. Every single show is a little bit different. A few years back, when I was an independent artist, I ripped my pants on stage as I was jumping. That was a funny moment.
Do you care to share?
Was long enough.
Do you care to share where it ripped? Or not?
In the spot you don't want it to rip. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Gosh.
Thankfully, I was wearing a long T-shirt and everything was good in the world. I didn't even notice until I got off stage. So
front or back?
That's funny.
Front or back?
It was the front. Yeah.
Okay.
So that happened. Let's say I haven't jumped off a riser like that in a little bit. So either that or I stopped wearing skinny jeans. One of the two.
Right.
So.
Right. I had now, and this was non-radio. This was working another job of in between my radio career, where I was doing I was business development manager at a company, and I had the back of my dress pants rip.
Ooh.
And so if you're an artist, all you do is you sit down for the rest of your show, right? Nobody's going to see it. Yeah. So there's the yeah. What about technical problems where the mic didn't work, or your in-ears didn't work, or the sound system just blew up, or whatever?
Never had a sound system blow up, and I don't plan on that happening. Honestly, I haven't really had any crazy technical difficulties. Funny story, I remember the first time I ever led worship. This is way back in the day, but I was in 7th grade. The first time I ever led worship for my whole church. The drummer never showed up.
Oh, no.
And,
Gosh.
Yeah, it was tough. And drummer never showed up, so we called somebody's cousin who hadn't drummed in 10 years, but I didn't know that until once he got there.
Right.
And
I can see where this is going.
It was an interesting morning when I saw him start playing on the drum kit, and there was just no turning back now. So that happened my first time ever leading worship, and that really prepared me that usually everything happens way different than what you want it to be.
That's a humbling experience.
Did they have you back?
Yeah.
That's the question. Did they have you back?
They did, but they didn't have that drummer back.
Right. I knew it.
Right.
With your when you travel, you said you travel with your drummer and your guitarist, and you play as well, right?
I sure do. Yes.
So, what kind of when you're performing, is it all like an acoustic thing, or do you got tracks playing as well? How does that all work out?
Yeah, we've got tracks playing as well. I play acoustic guitar for some songs. I play electric guitar for a song, and a little bit of keys. So try to move around, try to have fun. Yeah. Now,
when you say move around, are you dancing and stuff, or?
Oh, brother, I can't dance to save my life, but I can move
neither
around.
can I. Neither can I. That's why I'm asking. Because
I
just 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Hey, that's it. I just stick to singing and moving around a little bit. So
I've got rhythm, but I don't have dance rhythm.
That's funny.
It's true. My wife's from Guyana, and she's got the moves. Not me. I'm just this white guy who, it's embarrassing. It really is.
I love it.
My brother's son, so my nephew, had got married about a year ago. Just had his reception this past Friday. I wasn't able to go, just a timing issue and whatever, but I saw some pictures after the fact. And so I wouldn't, like, my brother is an awesome guitarist. He's also a lead pastor at a church. And I wouldn't necessarily say he's got the dance rhythms, but the pictures appear to show that he did.
Really?
So I don't know if it was just the camera at the right shot, the right moment, or maybe there was a million pictures taken and they just selected the best looking one where it actually looked like he was dancing. But I wouldn't even bother. Like I'll go to a wedding and there's dancing afterwards at the reception, and I don't.
Wallflower.
Well, I won't get up. I will admire and watch others, and if it's a slow dance, which you find a lot less these days at a wedding where there's slow dances. If it's a slow dance, I'll dance with my wife. But other than that, I'm just not. Yeah. I'd like to relax and enjoy the evening and not tire myself out. I've got a million excuses.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
But, it's interesting because you see some of these artists where they spend a lot of time getting into the whole dance routine. Like I could see you doing that for every step of the way where you've got this step thing you do during the performance. You see Torrin Wells do that, Danny Goki, where they actually have rehearsals, dealing with dancing. Did you ever do that, Ayiesha, with your songs?
No, sir.
No?
I might break out in the electric slide. That's the only organized dance step that I know.
What's an electric slide?
It's almost like a line dance.
Oh, that's just embarrassing.
And
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of line dancing. I just think it's kind of peculiar. But
everything else is a two-step.
Right.
As long as you stay on beat, you can get away with it.
Sure, but so every step of the way, why couldn't you do some steps, Cade? Come on.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm moving around a lot on stage, but there's no choreo, I should say. There's no choreo.
But you could between you and the guitarist. Every time you sing, every step of the way, you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, step forward, and then step back and stuff. And
oh gosh,
like why not? It's not embarrassing.
I'll have to call up Torrin Wells and ask for some lessons.
Yeah, see what he can do for you.
He's got some moves.
He does.
For sure.
And he spends a lot of time working on that as well.
He does. He's so talented.
What do you do as far as rehearsals with your band? Like, is it just something where you get together in the basement and rehearse? Or is this something where you're actually, a lot of these bigger acts, and I'm not saying you're not a big act, but I'm saying some of these big acts, like for King and Country, they get the pyro and I'm thinking Skillet and everything else. They get the pyro and everything else, and then they're coordinating movements. They're coordinating who's going to be where at what point because of the lights and everything else. And even where, how they're going to stand, what they're going to talk about, when they're going to talk about it. Do you go to that extreme at this point?
I do, yeah. We have a rehearsal studio that we rehearse at, and I have a live show producer, and all of our show is mapped out, and most of our movements is mapped out where we want to be at what points on stage. So, yeah, I don't have pyro on my show.
Right.
but yes, we put a lot of time into our live show, and I'm really happy with it.
Is a lot of people wouldn't know that. A lot of people wouldn't know that a lot of that is coordinated in advance and rehearsed. And it's not that you're trying to be fake or artificial. It's the whole way the show appears to everybody, but also the message behind it. So there's no gaps, there's no dead space, and everybody kind of knows what's going on because there's that communication not between your band members, but also your sound guy and your monitor guy and everything else, right?
Absolutely, yeah. For me, I have a lot of the shows planned out, but I also have certain moments within my show that I can pull audibles and allow the Lord to just flow through it. So yeah.
Do you have backup singers on there as well, or is it just you?
Like backup singers on stage with me, or
no, on the tracks.
Yeah. For example, like a song like "Arms of Jesus," that song has a little mini choir on it. So yes.
I just figured the choir was backstage or something. You just can't see them.
Yeah. That's a good one.
That's it. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So can you tell us more about this fall tour then? You're headlining. Do you have people opening for you, or is it different opener in different cities?
Yeah, so we're going on tour, bigger story tour this fall. The dates are going to be announced very, very soon. I'm really excited about it. My debut album was called Bigger Story, and so it's cool to be able to play a lot of these songs from that record. And I've got Justin Warren. He's an up-and-coming artist who's going to be opening up on the tour as well. And it's really exciting, man. It's fun to be able to do my own thing for the first time and see what happens through these shows.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's certainly going to be very different as well. If you're used to opening especially for a lot of these festivals where you get X amount of time on stage and that's it because there's a whole lineup of artists and stuff. Like this is your chance to have a lot more stage time for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. It's gonna be fun when we're playing some brand new music too, some unreleased stuff. So We are so excited.
Is that how you test music? Is that a performance where you test it, see what the audience reaction is before maybe even necessarily recording it, or before recording, or if you've already recorded it before you release it to radio?
Yeah, actually, I've been doing that a good amount this year, more than I have ever before. I've been playing some new stuff live and seeing what really impacts and what hits and what I enjoy. So, yeah, it's been fun.
Is that how Arms of Jesus came to radio?
Honestly, when I wrote Arms of Jesus, I just knew it was the first single right away. I believed in it so much. I never played it live until it was already done, but I just knew that it was the right step for this new direction of my music and this new phase of my music.
Was that like a decision made by you and the label, or basically you going to the label and say, I think this is the first single, and they agreed?
Pretty much both. Yeah, I really believed in it, and my immediate team really believed in it, and we said, hey, what do you think of this? And we got the email that said, hey, this is incredible. Let's roll with it. So that was kind of a very combined effort, but I knew right away that was the right one.
And just
that's great.
Just out of curiosity, what's the difference for you that you've found between being an independent artist and being signed with a label? Like, how is the whole, first of all, the transition, but also, whether it's job responsibilities or the support mechanisms that are in place, what's been the difference for you?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm so thankful for my label, Red Street Records. I signed with them 3 years ago, and I remember as I was talking to labels, I always had the vision that I wanted someone to jump on board with my vision and what I wanted and what I saw God doing through my music. And right away, Red Street, they just jumped on board, and I knew that it was the right fit. And it's been just amazing to work with them and their team and to grow with them over the past few years and putting out my first record and seeing all that God has done through that. And really just having a team and having more people to help execute my vision for what I want to do is so powerful and such a gift.
You find that it eased up some of your headache, paperwork type responsibilities?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, along with the label, became a manager, business manager, booking agent, all the things that can help move the needle forward, I guess you could say. And
yeah,
it's been so helpful, so encouraging, and helping get the music out to the world so people can hear it.
Yeah. And understanding all of that is with the ministry mentality versus doing a show, right? And it does take a lot of things behind the scenes to make all that stuff happen. And
yes, indeed.
And I know for independent artists, it's a lot of work. I mean, you're an independent artist now, Ayiesha, and
Yes. Oh, it's a lot of work, definitely.
Yeah. Actually, technically, you are with the label, aren't you?
Well, an independent label.
Yeah, well, isn't it your label?
Yes, it is.
There you go. That's the way to do it.
Yep. God has definitely graced us.
Yeah.
But it's no walk in the park, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's good. Yeah. It's good when you can have the support and get the support of people that share your vision and stuff. And that's what, what you've basically said, Cade, which is awesome.
Absolutely. So powerful.
Cade, thank you so much for hanging with us on Between the Grooves. Enjoyed our conversation, and hopefully get to see you soon at an upcoming concert or whatever, and we can grab coffee or something like that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and chatting, and I always love all that you guys are doing.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Cade.
Thank you. See y'all.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cade Thompson, really excited to see what's in store for him future-wise. I really like his music. I think his stuff is really catchy and very, every step of the way is that, upbeat, poppy type sound, which I love. I really do.
Right.
But then you've got like a song like Arms of Jesus where you get the choir in there and it's just more worshipful. And just following him on what he's doing on Instagram and on the socials and whatnot, he just seems to be that guy who just wants to worship and just that guy.
Live out purpose.
Yeah, and I don't. He doesn't strike me as a guy who's looking to be this big name.
Right.
Whether it happens or not, it probably will, right? Because of his of his music. But he's just doing what God has called him to do, and yeah, it's exciting to see that growth that's happening in his life.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing I am curious about, he's got a song called Dear Future Wife.
Yes, I've heard that.
So,
yeah.
You've heard it?
Yeah, I've heard it.
I've got to get my ears on that. That may be something that comes into fruition for him in the near future.
Well, when you talk about songwriting and you talk about what's on your heart, right? And so that's just what's coming out of his heart on things like that. So like he said, with every step of the way being written years in advance and then finally recording it and sending it out to radio, that's what was going through his life at that time, right? So yeah. And I admire that with any artist. Like for me, I'm not... I'm a radio guy, and so everything I say is usually short and sweet anyways, because it has to be, right? Because you got to limit your time that you're actually talking. When people are listening to the morning show, they want to hear music. They want to hear something that gets them awake and, keeps them excited and stuff like that. And I'm not sure that I can necessarily do that talking for 5 or 10 minutes, right? but for me to, I don't think I could ever write a book. I still think I have.
Could.
No, I don't know.
I'm telling you, you could. You totally could.
I don't know if I have the patience or if I have what it takes to write stuff out in detail. Like, when you talk about, when you start a book and it starts by a brook with this bubbling water and whatever else. Like, I don't have that descriptive nature to, come up with all of this elaborate visualization, right? You could do I could see you writing more of a self-help maybe
book.
Like black or white, that's me, just the facts, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. This is just the way it's at, and that could get me into trouble too. So yeah, great conversation with Cade Thompson. If you want to check out his website,
CadeThompsonMusic.com.
CadeThompsonMusic.com. Check it out.
Yep, that's it.
It is time for Artist Advice. We're checking in with Jake Fretz.
My advice to Christian artists would be that your most inspiring moments need to come out of the most intimate moments you have with Jesus. So the things that will make the greatest difference to those around you will probably come out of the most quiet moments that you have with him.
Jake Fretz on Between the Grooves. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's great. Just as a worship leader myself and a recording artist, I'm reminded of the scripture. It says, he that dwells in the secret place of the Most High will abide under the shadow of the Almighty. And the secret place is not corporate worship,
right.
And some of the best songs that I've written, they've come out of that secret place, when it's just me and Jesus. And that's just some really, really good advice.
If you don't have the me and Jesus, how can you introduce Jesus to others?
You can't.
Right.
In the same way you can't live holy without the Holy Spirit.
Right. Yeah.
So
that was good. I appreciate that from Jake Fretz. He was a guest with us, I guess it was last year sometime. So thank you to Jake for stepping in one more time just to share some artist advice for us. And that is it for this week. We are done like dinner.
I love it. Done like dinner.
Now I'm getting hungry.
Like a turkey. Okay.
I'm getting hungry. Let's eat. Hey, thank you for checking out Between the Grooves this week. Many thanks to Cade Thompson for hanging with us as well. On behalf of Ayiesha Woods, it's James Curtis, inviting you to like and to share this podcast with others. And be sure to leave your comments as well. We appreciate that. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and be sure to subscribe because that helps us reach more listeners as well on Between the Grooves.